Hey everyone, welcome on to Branded. This is going to be a super fun episode. I want to talk to those of you who built your wisdom before the internet told you who to be. That's me. Is that you? This is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, actually, because as you see the internet, social media, all these platforms, you see how quickly they turn into something else. Like it all started as this one thing, but then now it's quickly become something else. And it feels so performative. It feels so fake sometimes. And it just feels like there's no more humans on the other side of the conversation. And, quite literally, there probably isn't a lot of humans on the other side of the conversation, especially in this kind of AI craze that's happening right now. But today's episode is for all of you who didn't grow up with social media. And quite frankly, you're not really interested in turning your business into like a never ending performance. Um, Maybe you feel like, you can't find your place keeping up with all of this trending audio, all of these content calendars that are just full of like hooks and little hacks. And maybe the marketing strategies that keep getting thrown your way, they just feel like you have to be more of an actor than portraying yourself authentically, who you really are. So if that's you, this episode is all for you, baby. Um, so let's talk about that. Were you here before the internet? I was here before the internet. I remember going to the library all the time, like all the freaking time. We would go to the Bastrop Library in the middle of town. My mom would be like, "Hey, I need to run some errands." She'd be going to the bank, she'd be going to the post office, all these things, right? Little town. She would just drop me off at the library for some of those like hours, and I would just tuck and read a book or go explore, or I'd go watch a little DVD because they used to have little movies like PBS style stuff hanging out inside the library, and you could just use it, right? You didn't necessarily have to check things out. But this was all before the internet. Like even in school, right? If you had a project due, you needed to write an essay, you had a research paper, anything of the sort, where did you have to get your information? It was not from the internet. You went to a library, you were looking in your school books, you were talking to your teachers. There was just so much more human to human connection. And when I was thinking about creating this podcast episode, it was like, what's the perspective I want to land on here? And it really was, I want to talk to the people that grew up without the internet, grew up without social media, because I want to honor the fact that we remember a time when business and connection and community all happened offline, out in the real world, which by the way is still happening. In case you haven't been uh, offline in a while, all that's still happening offline. And when a good conversation and like a kind gesture or a handwritten thank you note, they have so much more impact than a post ever will. And yeah, right in the moment, let's say something great just happened in your business and you want to post about it, definitely share about it. But the impact of reaching out one on one to the person that that post is about and thanking them, sending a handwritten thank you note, picking up the phone to have a conversation about their experience, right? Even just a kind gesture, all of that has so much more impact than a post is ever going to have. Because quite honestly, a post is so fleeting, even though it's this really weird, like dichotomy of social media that it's out there forever and always. It's like never going to come down. Even if you try to delete your stuff, it's probably still out there somewhere. But at the same time, it's so buried under all the noise of everything else that it's almost like it's not out there at all. And sometimes that's how our content can feel, as if we put all this effort into something that isn't even visible to a single human being. So if you're feeling that way, I get you. I totally get it. And that's why some of these marketing strategies, brand strategies that you might be seeing out there that other people are just like, their businesses are going bananas and they're doing amazing with it. If it's not working for you, it's probably because it's a little too performative. It's a little too flashy. It's a little too leaning towards the trendy stuff. And that likely just doesn't align with who you are. And it's not that those strategies don't work, and it's not that you can't work with those strategies, but you have to decide for yourself, do the two align? Because if they don't, it's never going to work for you. So if you're like me, you probably didn't learn how to use the internet in order to sell something. I learned to use the internet as a research database. It was basically awesome. Instead of going to the library is right here. It's at my house on my computer. That's how I learned to start using the internet. So to now utilize it in a way where I'm having to think about selling a service, selling a product, it's like that's totally on its upside down compared to how I learned to use that tool. So it makes sense that some of these strategies and some of these things that I see out on the internet, sometimes I find them totally like gross and disgusting. I'm just like, ugh, I can't even imagine how somebody is doing this. And sometimes I think, oh, this could maybe be a way that I could do it. This could maybe be a strategy that I would use. And then I try it and I don't like it. It just doesn't align with me. So instead of getting discouraged by it, it's like I just have to find my own path through it because the way I started using the internet is not what the internet is being used for today. It is being used to sell things left and right. It's not really about connection and communication anymore. Although, yes, those are very like primary pillars of what it is available for. And that's how I still use the internet, but there's so many people that don't. They use it to sell. And if you were around before the internet was, it's likely you didn't learn to use it in order to sell something. So it makes total sense that you're like, I don't get all of it all the time, right? And I don't want you to think that I'm talking like we're just a bunch of old people that don't know how to use technology. Not the case. It's about the perspective. It's about the psychology of, all right, we have this tool in front of us. Let's learn how to use it in a way that is a reflection of who we are. Because we built our wisdom and our ability to connect with people before the internet ever existed. So if you think about it, we actually have quite an advantage to kids that grew up with the internet because we have the 3D version of all of those connections they're used to having online. We have the real life versions of those connections. So let's tap into that, right? Tap into that wisdom, tap into that knowledge. So you likely learned how to use the internet to connect, right? Like me, stay in touch with people, stay in touch with your family that like lives across the country, stuff like that. Share some updates on your life, build some friendships. And that's like what feels right. That's how using social media feels organic to me, is using it in that way. And there's a quiet power in that. We were the ones that, before these platforms became what they are, we were the ones using these platforms at their most innocent stage from the very beginning when, algorithms and follower counts weren't necessarily even a thing. It was really about getting users onto these platforms. And now it's all about the algorithms and all about the follower counts and all about the viral trends. That's not how it started. So we remember social media and the internet in its much more innocent beginning stages. And that might be why some of these typical marketing strategies just straight up don't work for you. And that's because they're built around performance. Do you show up daily? Are you curating every single move you make? Are you speaking in hooks? Are you acting like you already have 1,000,001 followers? But if you remember, like being someone who grew up trusting someone through eye contact, trusting someone because of the tone of voice that they have while you're speaking to them, how someone made you feel. Those strategies that I mentioned above, curating all of your moves, speaking in hooks, like it can start to feel cold and manipulative. And that's exactly, there are some things that I was doing a couple years ago with my business, and I stopped doing them because it felt manipulative. I could not wrap my head around me taking action in that way for that reason. It just felt so cold and flat and dry, and like it just wasn't me. And so I stopped doing it. Now, yeah, do I use a hook every now and then? I mean, yeah, I ask a question, I make a statement, a bold statement, but the way I'm doing it is aligned with who I am. I'm not trying to fit myself into somebody else's mold. It is a reflection of what I want to be showcasing, what I want to be participating in, what I want to be creating on a daily basis. Because if I'm going to spend my time doing it, which I have very little of extra time these days, it better be really fucking aligned. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not that you can't do these like performative, sort of flashier, trendier types of marketing strategies. It's just that they probably don't align with you because they're prioritizing attention over connection. And when you recognize that like the strategies that you're rolling your business out with are all about attention grabbing versus connection keeping, that's a very different reason. That's a very different way of showing up. And you kind of have to remind yourself attention, trends, those fade. They fade because something shinier is always coming along. Let's be real. Something shinier will always come along. So attention and trends, those are fading. But what never ever fades? Real relationships, connections, those will last. So if you're not feeling like, if your intuition is basically saying hard pass to webinars that are like packed with this sense of urgency, you got to buy now, buy now, buy now. If you're just like, ugh, yuck, no, thank you. Or like a social post just consistently feels more like a pitch than a conversation, then you're probably still using real life as your benchmark versus using social media as your benchmark for what connection truly means for you. So it's not like anything's wrong with you, right? It's not that you just don't get it. No, it's that you have an actual deeper understanding of what wisdom and life was like before the internet was ever really around, before the internet was telling you who to be, shoving it down our throats, basically. You trusted your gut more than going to a sales page and reading the information and feeling that sense of urgency, like you're going to have the biggest FOMO of your life if you don't buy this thing right now. What I like to do when let's say I engage a sales page and I'm scrolling and I'm looking and I'm like really into it and I'm ready to buy, what I'll typically do is I add something to the cart or I take a little bit of a step to like make a slight commitment to it. And then I'll set my phone down for a minute, go make dinner, go do something else for a hot minute, and then come back to it. If I still feel that sense of like FOMO, that sense of I gotta have it, I need to be a part of this, okay, sure, maybe I'll dive in. But honestly, more times than not, I don't. And that's because the sales page feels more like a pitch than a conversation, which it's a sales page, right? They are quite literally selling stuff. I make sales pages all the time, but it's geared more towards a conversation rather than the sense of urgency that you're never going to be able to have this thing again if you don't buy it right now. Because we all kind of know that's not really true. Sorry to like spill the beans on that. We all know that's not really true. And so that sense of urgency is just tapping into our psyche that we don't want to be left out. So trust your gut, right? Lean into that. And I guarantee if you're feeling this way about sort of these flashy performative marketing strategies, the clients that you want to work with feel the same way too. So don't do the flashy performative marketing strategies if you don't like them, if they don't align with you. Because guess what? The clients you want to work with, they probably don't like it either. So why would you do it? It's not going to resonate. So think about like, what is the demographic you're actually talking to? Who are the people that you want to really work with? Were they around before the internet was? Maybe you're talking to them the wrong way. This is a whole new side of the conversation, right? We haven't been talking about, we've just been talking about how do we fit into social media? Let's the other way around. How does social media fit into my real life? Because I was here first. So what does work for people like us? Well, the answer is not to just give up and not participate at all. It's to redefine it, but on our terms. So here are like a couple ways that I do that. Relationship first content, such as sharing stories instead of selling points. Speaking in a way that's like, this is something that I have just experienced, right? And within that, you can create some sort of points that directly sell into your products or your services because it organically does. Because the thing you created specifically was made to help this part of your life, right? So if it's a weight loss product, if you have a business service, like I do website design, like I'm talking, sharing stories, sharing real experiences, giving my own little bit of insight into what I'm experiencing as I'm building my business and building projects for clients. So share stories instead of just selling points. Post in order to connect with people, not to just convert. Yes, conversion is important. If you post something, you want to convert, but not every post that you make should be with the intention of only ever converting people. Don't you want to connect with people a little bit? Don't you want to like have a conversation? I mean, maybe not. Depends what your business is. This is what my business is. Relationship first. So posting to connect rather than converting all the time. Your wisdom, your expertise, your perspective, these are your strongest marketing tools. So instead of pushing them aside and letting AI tools run the show, maybe people are actually craving something real, something a little bit messy. And like, look, I'm a little messy. Maybe that's what people crave. So shed that sense of perfectionism, shed that sense of like having to fit into this box of what social media is right now today. Because guess what? That shit's going to change anyways. So why are you trying to fit into it today? Because in 2 months, it's going to be different. The algorithms are going to be different. How people want to engage with stuff is going to be different. So do you. Your wisdom, your expertise, your perspective, those are your greatest marketing strategies. Lead from those. Look to connect and then to convert. Share your stories, not just your selling points. And then, of course, there's like some really simple systems that you can have in the background that help to keep you present. So you can do some little batch, stuff of like a newsletter. You could batch a couple of your posts, but your business does not need to turn into a content machine. You do not need to be posting every single day of the week. You do not need to be posting multiple times of the day. Your business does not have to be a content machine. You can utilize the internet as much as you think is necessary for your business. I unapologetically show up really hard on like Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And then I go pretty freaking silent Thursday through Sunday. Why? Because Thursday through Sunday, I'm creating, I'm working on client projects, I'm resting, I'm playing. I leave space in my life that has nothing to do with content because otherwise I get burned out. And I know that about myself. And knowing that I grew up long before the internet and social media came around, this now gives me so much power to see it a little bit differently that I don't need those platforms to sustain. They're there to boost. So, maybe you're batching one newsletter a week, you're repurposing some like conversations that you've had with some clients into post, right? So you can share real stories, right? But let technology support you, not replace you. You want to still have your place online if you choose to be online, right? And never, ever, ever forget that word of mouth and real conversations will always be your most powerful marketing tool. Referrals, a great recommendation, someone saying, she helped me and I really trust her. You get people saying those things and you don't need all the rest. You're going to get the business because people trust you, because you show up as promised and you deliver as promised. So focus on being someone that your clients are talking about, not someone who's trying to just talk the loudest and make sure everybody hears you. No, you can have a quiet power and let all the marketing sort of happen organically because you're showing up as promised. You're delivering as promised. You don't need to talk the loudest. So, for those of you who are tired of performing constantly and built your life before likes and hearts and all the things, and you probably don't really give a shit about being one of the cool kids. I know I don't, but I deeply care about being real. If you're like me, you're not behind in any way. You know how to use social media. Align it to you. You do not have to fit in everybody else's box. You're exactly what businesses need more of. Real wisdom, heart, people that know how to make connections without going online. This digital world, it changes really freaking fast. We know this. But your sense of what's meaningful to you, that doesn't change. Make that the foundation, right? Your Instagram account is not the foundation of your business. It's a place where people can come and find you. And yeah, it might be fun and exciting and engaging and all the things. Get sales. Hopefully, it's doing all of those things for you. But it is not your foundation. Your sense of what's meaningful, your knowing how to actually make connections, you're knowing how to create trust from relationship building. These are skills that some kids that, if they weren't born until after the internet and social media, these are skills that they don't have quite as well in some regard because it just hasn't had to be part of their life, right? You just don't have to have so many conversations with actual humans. You can just be online. So while this digital world is constantly changing, you don't have to feel like you're behind. You don't have to feel like, oh, well, I'm not one of the cool kids. I'm not part of this, viral trend. Who gives a shit? Neither am I. And that's okay. There is a whole space online for people just like us that still want real connections, that still want to build trust with real humans. Yeah, I love using all sorts of little tools and tricks and all that, AI stuff to play with and figure out. Maybe it streamlines some parts of my business, but my business is mine. It's not a machine that's turning out content constantly every part of it is automated. No, you do it real intentionally, because when you do it like that, you're still the core, right? Your heart, your purpose, the reason you started, all of that stays central to your business when you build from that place. That's your freaking superpower. Hang on to that, right? Do not let that go, or let anybody make you feel like you are lesser because you don't want to participate in this performative, flashy, trendy marketing stuff that's out there these days. So keep showing up with the integrity that you have. Keep choosing depth over drama. And keep remembering that life is still, like real life, is still the best metric there ever will be. Tap into that. So, for those of you who built your wisdom before the internet told you who to be, I hope this one resonated with you. This was a really fun one for me, because it's been really hard to articulate this side of myself and what that feels like when it comes to how I show up online. And I hope today was a little bit of a glimpse into that and might have given you a little bit of an extra boost to be like, I'm going to go do me, because that's what I'm here for. I'll see you next week in a brand new episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Branded, the podcast. Please rate and review. And for more information, visit socialjanemedia.com. I'll see you soon.